Definition of apothecary.
Apothecary is an archaic term. It means a person who prepared and sold medicines and drugs.
Okay, this review is for a book called The Lost Apothecary. First of all, hi, thank you, and welcome to my channel. So, I downloaded The Lost Apothecary from NetGalley for two reasons. The first reason is I was asked to join in a blog tour for this book, and the second reason is my friends were talking about it. However, to be frank, I had not heard of the word apothecary before. So just like you heard Siri tell us the definition, it's an archaic term for a person that prepared drugs and medicine. Now, that's my introduction to what I found to be a fabulous debut novel. Let's try that again. That's my introduction to what I found to be a fabulous debut novel by Sarah Penner. Now, let's see. The publisher is Harlequin, or let's see if it could be Harlequin. I'm pretty sure it is. But I got it as a digital NetGalley book, and I also got it as an audiobook. And the audiobook was produced by Harper Audio, and I'm sure this will be up on sites like Audible on release date, which, by the way, is March 2nd. Today is the 19th of February, so the review won't go up. But I am going to give you a book review, but I'm going to briefly talk about the audio version of it, since I chose to read it or listen to it versus reading the digital copy. Now, before I tell you about who The Lost Apothecary was, the story, and my impressions of the book, I'll let you know that, again, it was a debut novel by a woman named Sarah Penner, an author. I need to respect her. An author named Sarah Penner. It was narrated by three narrators: Laura Bennett, Lauren Anthony, and Lauren Irwin. Right there, that tells me, as a listener and someone who absolutely loves audiobooks, having multi-narrators do the different voices would definitely go a long way into making the story more impressionable on me. And so I wanted to briefly talk about that. This is historical fiction or women's fiction, or a combination of both. And the reason why is because the book took place in the 1700s, but it's also a dual timeline story that took place in modern times. Now, the story focuses on a woman, what is your name, lady? Nella. Okay, she was an apothecary in the late 1700s. I believe it was like 1791 or something along that line. Now, she had a great knowledge of drugs and medicine, but she went a step further and created kind of a secret business where she turned her knowledge of drugs and medicine into creating poisons. And it was poisons that were used and provided to women who were in untenable situations with the men in their lives. Now, we're talking about the 1700s, when divorce was not common or pretty much acceptable. I'm not going to sit here and say murder was acceptable, but these women somehow became aware of Nella, and they would go to her, and she would provide poisons to them on a secretive basis, and they would use these poisons to do away with their husbands. That's the premise. That's the story. There were rules, keeping everything a secret and doing things in a certain way. Now, that's Nella. Again, I mentioned that there were three narrators. Who were the other two women in the story? Well, one of Nella's customers, instead of coming to the apothecary shop herself, she sent her 12-year-old maidservant, and this is a young girl named Eliza Fanning. Eliza is your second protagonist in this book, so therefore her voice was one of the voices one of the narrators did. Then there was a third character in this book, and her name was Caroline. And Caroline is a historian in modern times. Now, Caroline was mudlarking, looking for treasures on I think it's the Thames River, Thames. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Thames. Well, she found a small vial that contained something that ultimately became tied in with two murders from over 200 years ago. Now, I'm going to shut my office door because hubby's coming in from the store. Sorry about that. Caroline finds this vial, and with her knowledge of history, as I mentioned, she was a historian, she starts to dig into the history behind this vial, those murders from a couple hundred years ago, and tries to expose a part of history that had been hidden. So as the story develops, you have Nella in her experiences, you have young Eliza, and something that Eliza does that sets off a series of events that leads to tragedy. And then you have Caroline in her endeavor to figure out what happened in the past. And I won't say too much about Caroline in her actions, but they were questionable at best. So that part of the story is developed as well. And that's pretty much it. You've got the balance of Nella and Eliza's drama with Caroline's searching 200 years later, and how this affects. And by the way, something is going on in Caroline's personal life and her professional life, so that's also explored in this book. It's a very intriguing story. It filled me with angst and nail-biting tension. I love the fact that it's a debut novel, and there's also a cool point about this novel. It's going to be translated, I think, in 11 languages. So I can you imagine writing your first book and it gets grabbed up with being translated into several languages? So I can't wait to see where this book goes. I haven't read any other reviews on this book yet. I actually never do until I get my reviews written and published. My hair's a mess. Until I get my reviews written and published. But now that I've gotten this video filmed, I will go back and read other reviews. But I'm going to track this book. I want to see where it goes. I think it should be made into a movie, because those three narrators, Lorna and the two Laurens, my gosh, they did a fabulous job. And sometimes I followed along with the digital copy, but I mostly listened. So whether I was reading it as a digital version or listening to it as an audio version, I found it to be a fabulous book. I think it's going to go a long way. And when the video goes up on this channel, the book will be able to be downloaded for, whether you get it through Amazon or Audible. I can definitely provide you the Amazon link, and if possible, I'll even provide you with the Audible link. And as an Amazon affiliate, should you grab this book, I would get a couple of pennies towards my Amazon account, but it won't affect the cost of the book to you. So that's The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Great debut novel. All right, bye-bye.